Welcome to Dolphin Dive Daily, your go-to spot for everything Miami Dolphins. If you bleed aqua and orange, hit that subscribe button and join the pod. The San Francisco 49ers find themselves in a moment of crisis, one that shakes the very foundation of a roster carefully constructed to chase a Super Bowl. The devastating news of Nick Bosa's season-ending injury is not just another headline or a passing storyline. It's the kind of gut punch that can derail an entire campaign. Bosa has been the face of this defense, the ultimate disruptor whose presence forces opposing offenses into chaos before the ball is even snapped. Without him, the 49ers risk losing the identity that has made them one of the NFL's most feared units. But when an organization has Super Bowl aspirations, standing still is not an option. And this is why the prospect of targeting Miami Dolphins edge rusher Jaelan Phillips becomes so compelling. Phillips isn't just a possible replacement. He represents the perfect combination of youth, talent, and upside to keep San Francisco's championship window wide open. When you talk about Jaelan Phillips, you're talking about a player who hasn't even reached his prime, but already flashes the kind of tools that make scouts and defensive coordinators salivate. A former first-round pick, Phillips was drafted for his freakish athleticism, his bend around the edge, and his relentless motor that refuses to quit on plays. Watching him on film, you see a player who has the quick first step to threaten tackles immediately, the strength to convert speed into power, and the football IQ to diagnose plays in real time. He isn't just a guy who can rack up sacks. He's a game changer, the kind of edge rusher who makes quarterbacks hear footsteps long after the snap. For a 49ers team that just lost its premier disruptor, inserting a player like Phillips into the lineup would mitigate the damage and keep the defense at an elite level. Of course, the Dolphins didn't draft Phillips in the first round to be a trade chip. Miami has big plans of its own, and Phillips has been seen as a cornerstone piece alongside Bradley Chubb. Together, they form one of the league's most promising young pass rush duos. But context matters here, and the Dolphins face realities that could force their hand. Miami's roster is already loaded with big-money contracts, from TYREEK Hill's blockbuster deal to Jalen Ramsey's hefty price tag. They've invested heavily around Tua Tagovailoa, and with looming extensions for stars like Jalen Waddle, the Dolphins are staring at tough financial decisions in the near future. Add to that the fact that Miami is short on premium draft picks due to previous trades, and suddenly, entertaining an overwhelming offer for Phillips isn't as far-fetched as it might seem at first glance. This is where the 49ers can swoop in. San Francisco has shown time and again that they are not afraid to swing big when it comes to trades. We saw it with Christian McCaffrey, a move that many thought was too costly in terms of draft picks, yet one that transformed the offense overnight. The philosophy is clear. When the window to win a Super Bowl is open, you do everything possible to maximize it. Draft picks are nice, but rings are forever, and the 49ers know that better than anyone. In Phillips, they wouldn't just be filling a hole. They'd be securing both short-term firepower and long-term stability. At just 25 years old and still on his rookie deal, Phillips offers not only immediate production, but also financial flexibility compared to chasing an older, more expensive veteran. So what would a deal like this actually look like? It can't be just a bag of mid-round picks if San Francisco wants to pry Phillips away from Miami. This would take a package that makes Chris Grier and the Dolphins front office stop and think hard about the long-term benefits. The rumored proposal floating around makes perfect sense. A 2026 first-round pick, a 2027 third-round pick, and young edge rusher Drake Jackson heading to Miami in exchange for Phillips. From the Dolphins' perspective, this provides a premium asset in the form of a first-round pick, giving them the ability to draft another cornerstone player down the line. They also add Jackson, a promising but inconsistent pass rusher who has flashed potential but hasn't cemented a starting role in San Francisco. In a bigger role with Miami, he could blossom into a valuable contributor, and the extra third-round pick adds even more flexibility to move up or down the draft board when necessary. For San Francisco, giving up a first-round pick plus another asset is not cheap, but this is the price you pay when the goal is hoisting the Lombardi Trophy. With Bosa gone, the pass rush can no longer be relied upon to collapse pockets by default. Opposing offensive lines will be emboldened, quarterbacks will be more comfortable, and Steve Wilks' defensive scheme will lose its teeth. By adding Phillips, the 49ers restore the balance. Imagine him lined up alongside Javon Hargrave and TYREEK Armstead, creating mismatches on every snap and forcing quarterbacks like Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts, and Jared Goff to rush their reads. That kind of front four can take over games in January, and in the NFL, pass rush wins championships. Now, would the Dolphins really consider parting with Phillips? It's not a move they would take lightly, and the fan reaction would undoubtedly be mixed. Phillips is a fan favorite and has already earned a reputation as one of the hardest-working young players in the league. But football is a business, and teams must constantly balance the present with the future. The truth is, the Dolphins' defense is already stacked with talent. Between Chubb, Ramsey, and a deep secondary, Miami has enough firepower to compete even without Phillips if the return is strong enough. Trading him now could be seen as a proactive move to ensure the franchise remains flexible and competitive for years to come, rather than being hamstrung by financial constraints. The fascinating part of this trade is how it would reshape the landscape for both teams. For San Francisco, it signals that they are not letting injuries dictate their season. Too often, we see teams crumble when a superstar goes down, but this would be a bold declaration that the 49ers are built to withstand adversity. It would energize the locker room, showing every player that the front office is all in and willing to back them up with real action. For Miami, while losing Phillips would sting, the long-term benefits could outweigh the short-term pain. With extra draft picks and a cost-controlled young player like Jackson, they could reinforce depth across multiple positions, which might be the difference in surviving the brutal AFC gauntlet. Ultimately, this is the type of trade where both sides walk away feeling like they addressed crucial needs. San Francisco fills the massive void left by Bosa with a young, ascending star who fits perfectly into their system. Miami gains the kind of draft capital and roster flexibility that allows them to sustain their run and keep building around their offensive nucleus. And for fans, it would be one of those rare blockbuster trades that sends shockwaves throughout the NFL, sparking debates on talk shows, igniting fan bases, and altering playoff predictions overnight. Jalen Phillips to the 49ers isn't just a hypothetical scenario. It's the kind of move that can change the trajectory of a season and maybe even a franchise. It's bold, it's costly, but it's also the kind of decisive action that separates contenders from pretenders. The 49ers cannot afford to let their Super Bowl dream slip away because of one injury, no matter how devastating it is. And if Miami is willing to listen, this trade could be the perfect storm where both organizations walk away winners. It would be shocking, it would be dramatic, and it would prove once again that in the NFL, fortune favors the bold. Still with us? Then show some love. Hit that like button and let us know in the comments. What's your take on the Fins this week? The Miami Dolphins locker room has been hit by a shockwave that no one saw coming, and it all started with Tyreek Hill. In what is rapidly turning into the biggest internal drama of the season, Hill reportedly unleashed a barrage of comments directed at quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, and the ripple effects are already shaking the foundation of the team. Sources close to the situation hint that what began as a private venting session has now spiraled into something that could define the Dolphins' locker room culture for the rest of the year. Insiders claim that Hill, known for his fiery competitiveness and no-nonsense approach to football, has grown increasingly frustrated with what he perceives as inconsistency in Tua's game management and decision-making under pressure. While Hill has never been one to mince words on the field, this time his words reportedly crossed the line, landing squarely in the realm of personal critique, and it's left teammates, coaches, and front office personnel scrambling to address the fallout. For weeks, there have been whispers about tension between Miami's star receiver and its young quarterback. Hill's explosive talent on the field has always demanded a certain level of respect and production, and with the Dolphins sitting at a pivotal point in the season, the pressure is only magnifying every perceived flaw. Sources say Hill's frustration has not been limited to Tua's throws or in-game reads. He's reportedly questioned preparation routines, sideline communication, and even the mental toughness Tua brings to high-stakes moments. The rumor mill has it that this tension reached a boiling point during a recent practice, where Hill allegedly voiced his concerns in no uncertain terms, reportedly saying that Tua needed to step up or step aside, according to insiders who claim to have been in the vicinity. While these comments haven't been publicly confirmed by the Dolphins organization, The internal chatter is enough to send shockwaves through a locker room that had been touted as tight-knit and cohesive just weeks ago. The ripple effects of Hill's remarks are already being felt across the team. Veteran players, who usually try to mediate and maintain harmony, are reportedly taking sides, either sympathizing with Hill's frustrations or defending Tua's ability to grow into the role that everyone expected him to dominate. Coaches are said to be in crisis mode, trying to recalibrate the locker room dynamics while preparing for crucial matchups that could determine playoff positioning. Some insiders hint that the team's leadership meetings have turned into tense, closed-door sessions where players are openly discussing their grievances and frustrations, a rare and potentially dangerous break from the usual professional decorum. Rumor has it that the front office is weighing whether to step in publicly or continue handling this quietly, knowing that any official acknowledgement could fuel media frenzy and destabilize a team already under intense scrutiny from fans and analysts alike. Off the field, social media is already ablaze with speculation, as the story of Hill's comments has leaked through unnamed sources and whispered accounts from former players who are close to the Dolphins. Fans are dissecting every interaction, every sideline gesture, every body language cue in games, searching for confirmation of tension that may or may not be visible to the casual observer. Meanwhile, sports analysts are divided. Some argue that this is a normal clash of competitive personalities, inevitable when elite talent like Hill clashes with a rising star quarterback like Tua. Others warn that if this internal conflict is not resolved, it could snowball into a full-blown morale issue, undermining the Dolphins' chances of securing a deep playoff run. The narrative has shifted so quickly that even casual followers of the team are now invested, turning what was a standard season into a must-watch drama filled with intrigue, potential betrayal, and high-stakes football politics. Interestingly, those close to Hill emphasize that his criticism, while sharp, stems from a desire to win. Hill's intensity and drive are legendary. Teammates have long described him as a perfectionist who holds everyone to the highest standards, including himself. The suggestion from these insiders is that Hill's comments were not born from malice, but from a genuine desire to push Tua to reach his fullest potential. However, critics argue that the method, timing, and tone of Hill's delivery may have been counterproductive, potentially creating a divide rather than inspiring growth. Tua, for his part, is reportedly aware of the criticism and is attempting to maintain focus amid the chaos. But sources suggest that even the most composed players have moments of vulnerability, and this publicized tension is bound to weigh on him. The juxtaposition of Hill's bluntness and Tua's sensitivity to criticism is creating a narrative rich in drama, something rarely seen with such intensity in the NFL midseason. What makes this situation even more combustible is the timing. The Dolphins are not just any team. They are a team with high expectations, contending in a league where every misstep is scrutinized and playoff aspirations hang by a thread. The timing of Hill's comments coinciding with crucial games has fueled speculation that the locker room could fracture if left unchecked. Some insiders claim that rival teams are already taking note, seeing this as an opportunity to exploit potential weaknesses in Miami's chemistry. Coaches are reportedly implementing emergency measures to reinforce unity, scheduling extra meetings, mental conditioning sessions, and team-building exercises. But sources emphasize that there is only so much that can be done when the tension originates from one of the team's most prominent stars. Rumors abound that the Dolphins staff is treading carefully, trying to prevent the drama from spilling into public view while still addressing it head-on in internal discussions. Meanwhile, the media frenzy is intensifying. Pundits, podcasters, and social media commentators are dissecting every angle. Was Hill justified in his critique? Is Tua mentally equipped to handle the pressure from a teammate of Hill's caliber? How will this tension affect Miami's playoff chances? Each speculation adds fuel to the fire, creating a snowball effect that is hard to control once the rumor begins to circulate. Even fans who normally ignore locker room dynamics are now glued to every headline, every cryptic social media post, and every subtle exchange during games, attempting to decode the current state of affairs. The Dolphins' locker room, once considered a sanctuary of camaraderie and mutual trust, now feels like a pressure cooker ready to explode, and Hill's outspoken criticism is the spark that has lit the fuse. In the background, there are hints of potential resolutions. Some reports suggest that Hill and TUA could have a private reconciliation, mediated by coaching staff or veteran leaders, where grievances are aired and mutual understanding is reached. Others, however, paint a darker picture. Ongoing tension could linger throughout the season, influencing performance, game strategy, and team morale. The possibility of external consequences, such as trade rumors or contract considerations, has also been whispered in sports circles, suggesting that the Dolphins' management is not only dealing with immediate interpersonal issues, but also thinking long-term about how to safeguard the franchise's competitive integrity. The situation is fluid, and every day brings new leaks, new interpretations, and new predictions about how this saga will unfold. The narrative has all the ingredients of a blockbuster: a superstar athlete, a rising talent under pressure, a team with playoff aspirations, and a locker room drama that seems to grow with every passing hour. In short, the Miami Dolphins are at the center of a storm that could redefine their season. Tyreek Hill's explosive comments about Tua Tagovailoa are more than just an internal squabble. They are a microcosm of the pressures, egos, and ambitions that exist in the highest levels of professional sports. Whether this episode ends in reconciliation, escalation, or long-term tension, it is certain to be remembered as one of the most talked-about internal controversies in recent Dolphins history. Fans, analysts, and even casual observers will be watching closely, dissecting every gesture, every press conference, every play on the field in search of answers. And while Hill's intent may have been to motivate, the outcome remains unpredictable. For now, the rumor mill is unstoppable, speculation is at a fever pitch, and the Dolphins' locker room is a focal point of intrigue, drama, and the high-stakes tension that makes football not just a game, but a saga. That's a wrap for today's dive. If you're loving the content, share it with a fellow Dolphins fan, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a splash. Fins up.